Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Taiwan on the 2nd of August. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. I suppose that many of you are interested in the military aspect of this conflict, of possible conflict. We are not going to discuss the policy part of this conflict, about the history of this conflict and so on. In this video we are going to try to discuss what is going to be if the Chinese forces or Taiwan forces are going to do this or that in a possible upcoming conflict. But before we start, let's just discuss, let's meet with Taiwan, with China. Let's understand what is Taiwan. If you take a look at this map, you're going to understand that Taiwan is not just this big island we are looking at. Taiwan is a number of islands. And first of all, this island, Taiwan Island. Also, there is a few islands on the west. This one. There is a few islands we can say right in front of China. This island, Taiwan Island, this one is marked on this map. All the Taiwan's island is marked with a small title Taiwan. This island and these islands. So big island and a number of small islands around between China and Taiwan. So this is the situation about the Taiwan and so on. Now let's talk a little bit about the forces. The forces. If we compare two countries, we see that of course China has much more forces than Taiwan has. For example, if we're talking about China, they have more than 1 million army, and Taiwan has just 88,000 soldiers. If we're talking about the tanks, China has 6,300 tanks and Taiwan has 800 tanks. If we're talking about artillery, China has 7,000 and Taiwan has just 1,100. But of course, this is not the war like we used to, like in Russia, in Ukraine. It's the war on the fleet battles and so on. So as you can see, China has much bigger fleet than Taiwan. If we're talking about the frigates, for example, China has 48 and Taiwan just have 22. If we're talking about the air carriers, China has 2 and Taiwan doesn't have anything. If we're talking about submarines, China has, let's say, 71 submarines and Taiwan just 2. If we're talking about marine ships, China has 57 and Taiwan have 14. So we understand, according to this configuration, that Taiwan is not going to start any offensive operation and their main job is just to defend themselves. And let's talk about the aircrafts. If we're talking about China, they have more than 2,000, around 2,500 aircrafts. It's like storm aircrafts, bombardments, and like transporters and so on. And if we're talking about Taiwan, they have just 400 aircrafts and military fighting aircraft and 30 transport aircraft. So not much. So according to this configuration, we understand that Taiwan is going to defend. And it's the only thing they can do. Furthermore, even if they're going to defend anyway, they're going to lose some territory. Now let's discuss about the further plans and let's understand what China and what the Chinese are going to do, what are their main goals, and how this conflict is going to look like. Of course, there are several options, and first of all, there is the famous blitzkrieg option. The China maybe are able to do some blitzkrieg, but I'm not sure they're able to do this. It's impossible to do blitzkrieg on the sea because, as we see, Taiwan has artillery. They have support from the United States of America. Furthermore, there is a US fleet in this area, so that's why I don't think that China are going to do some blitzkrieg. Furthermore, I suppose that the United States of America had a very good lesson in Ukraine, and I don't think that the United States of America are going to allow Chinese to do any blitzkrieg. So that's why if there is any conflict, this conflict will be very long, and it will be not even the conflict between militaries, it will be the conflict between economy, whose economy is much more powerful. Now let's talk about the steps of this special operation. Of course, there are going to be few stages. The first one, media stage. This is the stage according to which the Chinese are planning to establish control all over the islands that right in front of China, these small islands. These small islands, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the north, we could say, one in the middle, and the third one, this one. So first of all, the Chinese are going to take control over the islands right in front of the big land, we could say. And of course, we understand that Taiwan don't have any possibility to protect these islands, and they will lose them anyway. And this is going to be something like media victory. And these achievements in these islands are going to increase the morale of the spirit of Chinese. It's something like small victories. These victories will show that the Chinese army is very powerful, that they can do anything they want, and this is a very good start. It can be a very good start for the Chinese, because with this they will have some approvals from society to continue this special operation. Because if we take these islands so easy, so that's why we Chinese suppose that all entire operation can be very fast and with the same, but it won't be the same. Of course, now let's talk about Taiwan, about Operation Taiwan. Believe me, there is going to be no marine operation there. At least at the beginning, you won't see like hundreds of marine ships, big marine ships that crossing this sea, and then we won't see anything that we saw in Normandy in 1944. We won't see this. You should understand this. Because of few things. First of all, this coast is very protected by Taiwan. I'm sure about this. Don't forget about satellites that are flying all along this area. Don't forget about the US air carriers and so on. So the first stage, let's mark with arrows, the Chinese will take control over these islands that located right in front of big land. They will do this very fast during the weeks. They will do some media victory about that and so on. So after that, we're going to see the sea front line like this. So this is going to be the sea front line. After that, the Chinese will try to establish control over these islands that located on the west of Taiwan, this one. So I must say that the entire battle for Taiwan is going to be the battle for these islands. Who controls these islands? This party controls the situation. So if the Chinese are able to establish control over these islands, that means that sooner or later they will be able to establish control all over Taiwan. It's obvious. So this is the most important part. This is we can call these islands like gate to Taiwan. So the main job of Taiwan is to protect these gates, and the Chinese need to take these gates if they want to proceed and develop their offensive operation on the big island. This is we saw during a few months ago, we saw one battle for an island, Snake Island in Ukraine, but you shouldn't compare these islands because it's a totally different situation. If you compare the distance in these islands, it's around 12 kilometers. There are a few islands. This one is something 9 kilometers. This one is something like 6 kilometers. So this is a very big islands. And if you take a look at the map of Google Earth map, you're going to see that it's not just an islands like Snake Island in Ukraine. It's a big cities. It's a port, big city, airport, and so on. So that means that the Chinese, if they are able to establish control over these towns, they will be able to hide and to establish their fire positions. They will be able to fix themselves there, and the most important thing on this island, if the Chinese are able to take this island, and it's the main goal, their main goal. If they're able to do this, as soon as they do this, then they will be able to establish fire control over this island, over some coast. Let's calculate just 8 kilometers. I'm not saying about the MRS system that Chinese have. Maybe they have bigger, they have much more bigger MRS system that attacks on longer distance. But I'm talking about, let's say, the system that you can use all the time, 24 hours, and it's not very expensive, and you can use it all the time. And it doesn't cost much, so you can lose it, and then you can provide and bring on the island more systems. So let's talk about 8-kilometer zone. So let's say that if the Chinese are able to establish control over that island, then they will be able to control this territory on the beach, on the coast. Sorry. So this one. Now let's try to mark this area. So this is the area that will be under fire control, under artillery control, and furthermore, the Chinese will be able to control the sea around this area. And of course, by controlling this coast, these fields and so on, the Chinese will be able, after that, continue their offensive operation, and only after taking this town and after establishing fire control over this area, the Chinese will be able to cross this sea and to start some marine operation, some paratrooper operation, any operation, and to storm this coast. And after that, we're going to see if we are going to see any operation on the ground. So we can say that this is the first steps of this operation from Chinese side and so on. Of course, if it's possible, if the Chinese has a powerful army, and if they had better fleet or something, if they have a good fleet, maybe they have, who knows. Of course, it would be much more better if they are able to establish control over this island as well, at least using like submarines and some boats and so on, and maybe to bring some forces here. It's not big island, it's just 11 kilometers, but anyway, there is a lot of rocks, like 300 meters, 437 meters. So it's like, I'm not sure that if you are able to be there, to stay there. But anyway, if you are able to use this island as a bridgehead, of course, this area is very nice, for the Chinese to establish fire control, to establish air control over, let's say, east side of this Taiwan island. If Chinese are able to establish control over these islands, maybe they will try to establish control over this island as well. And if they are able to do this as well, we must say that the entire Taiwan island is going to be blocked, and it will be just a question of time when this island is going to fall. This is the strategy from the Chinese side. Of course, we are not discussing any nuke strike or the Third World War. I don't think that we are going to see something like this. I suppose that we're going to see the same scenarios we saw in Russia with Ukraine, where the Russians were fighting with Ukraine, but everybody understands that the Russians were fighting with NATO. So the same thing is here. The Chinese are going to fight with Taiwan, but everybody understands that Chinese are going to fight with the NATO, or maybe with the United States of America or something like this. So this situation about the Taiwan. And that's it for today about Taiwan. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, Military Summer channel. Remind you that we condemn any violence in China or in Taiwan. So thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.